All right, and we are live. I should probably inform the lady friend of that and clip the front of that off. All right, I told my supervisor that I am live. I have my browser prepped and I am ready to start reviewing all the silly stuff I've been up to. Alright, so let's go to our commits. Repository commits. There we go. Alright, so thing number, I think the last time I streamed. Oh wow, it's been a minute. I think health, yeah. So let's do health checks for Trafic. I believe that was the last time I streamed. So if we go into here, we go to, is it on there? Do I have to, there it is. I'm stupid and can't read zip time. I added in health checks and I also made it a collapsible row. The reason for this is if you get too many data points, it'll freak out and it's just kind of clutter. Like if you have healthy origins and all that other nonsense, this just looks ugly. So I made it a collapsible row. So if you need to show long-term data, yeah. And Armin's being angry again. So let's go over Zeke. But yeah, same kind of thing. And health checks are also not set up by default. So yeah, that's also done as a part of the Shift Mon deployment now too. It does add a health check to every origin. So you can populate the dashboard and so you can set up an alert for when an origin is down without having to set up a separate black box check. Plus, you would want to do that if you're using Grafana Cloud to save money, and two, so you could route the alert differently. Because if you have a fully load balance setup, you would want to alert it differently because it's just one origin behind a theoretically load balanced service. So you don't necessarily care about as much as that. Like you don't want to get someone out of bed for it, but you want to let people know. So there's that feature. What do we have after that? We have health check to Trafic. Everything's deployed via Galaxy now, including the Woodpecker CI stuff, which I finally got to work after streaming was over. But like basically you're gonna see oh, I forgot to bump the version number in Galaxy. So that's just funny fail stuff. Fixed row bug. Was that in Docker? This was in Docker. Oh, no. That was me not arranging rows. This is the Docker fix. So Docker should work now. Discard. Where are... These two panels were broken in Docker and some of the other metrics weren't showing up. So this is actually running Docker proper, and then Aaron, Armin, yeah. So this works for Docker or Podman. Maybe not Podman. So mostly works for Podman, works for Docker. So that way, it's called the Docker dashboard because it's more popular, but works for pretty much both of them. So now all the panels at least kind of work. So yay. Is there one? Ymir's having a time, but I think that's a permissions issue. Yeah. I'll look into that off stream. We're going to play with OnCall today and not get squirreled super hard. So the Docker dashboards got fixed. I added support for parsing data in the filter log. So don't want to show too much. I'm going to take this off stream for a second. OpenSense. Actually, I think I have an Explore tab open. Yeah. So this is what you get when you get a pfSense and OpenSense log, is you just get this comma separated nonsense. I shouldn't say nonsense. Netgate actually has good documentation on what the heck all this is. It's CSV formatted data. So what this commit does is it tears that apart into readable data and parses it on the Telegraph end. The reason for that is so I could add reverse DNS lookups. So now we can see that this was going to Google instead of just this IP address. You can't really enrich data in Loki without pulling it out and then putting it back in. So that's kind of the whole reason for that. Is we pulled out the CSV and Telegraph, and I actually learned a really cool trick. Code where you can actually specify the order in a Telegraph config, so that way this rule runs first, and then it actually pulls out the IP address, and then down here afterward it will look up the source and IP address. So Telegraph can do reverse lookups. There is a third-party plugin for geo lookup, which would be super cool. However, it's not worth building and publishing my own agent because it's a third-party module, and now, was it the California data protection law made it so you can't just like embed the MaxMind DB without dealing with compliance issues. So, and that was a freely updatable database everyone uses. It's not a simple problem because then you're distributing the database with it. So I might look into ways on pfSense and OpenSense boxes to add that observability. So, yay. What other... I believe that catches us up. Yep, then another version bump because I'm stupid and can never remember to bump the Galaxy version. Yay, I'm a silly goose. Alright. So what the heck do I want to add now? There is one more thing with reverse lookups, and that would be Nginx. I should probably add Apache. I don't have any public-facing Apache stuff. I could look into instrumenting free IPA with the Apache log, and it's going to be the same kind of thing. So I might update the ticket to include that. Otherwise, I'm just going to do Nginx really quick, and I might wait for someone to complain about that. So yeah, next up is going to be Grafana OnCall. So what the heck is Grafana OnCall? Why do I need Grafana OnCall? Grafana already has alerting, and I can send it to PagerDuty or email or gettily through a Slack bridge in Matrix. Well, one is handling like more elaborate workflows. So Grafana OnCall will let you will do like on-call rotations and things like that, which means that I could only get bothered for a week. Then the co-owner of Shift Systems, aka my wife, could get bothered another week, and that helps reduce burnout and lets people sleep safely. Because being on call, it messes with your sleep schedule even if nothing else goes wrong. Because you're constantly kind of freaking out about like, all right, what's going to blow up and pull me out of bed at 2 a.m. so you don't sleep as soundly. The other thing would be escalation path. So if this alert does not get touched for 20 minutes, escalate it to another technician or bother everybody. So in bigger teams, you could have something where like there's like a tier 2 that gets bothered if an issue hasn't been resolved in a certain amount of time or something like that. Or organizations will do a follow the sun model where there's a group of people that are on call during their shift, and then if they don't pick it up in so much time, they will do that. And there are tools like PagerDuty that implement it, and OpsGenie is the other big one, but they're proprietary. So you can't self-host them, which is good and bad, because sometimes it's good to have somebody else deal with your observability stuff. Or like getting notifications that your infrastructure is broken. You could run into a problem where like, what if the infrastructure that hosts my observability stuff goes down? So that's the use case for keeping observability stuff separate. So yeah, if you have any questions on what the heck's going on or anything, put them in the video. Make sure like and subscribe, all this stuff to make the YouTube algorithm happy. Alright, so now that we know what Grafana OnCall is, we need to set up this Docker Compose. So we need to figure out what is and isn't necessary from this. Because if you look at this compose file, there is another Grafana instance here. So it's like calling localhost 3000. So that's going to probably be an issue. We have to enable the unsigned plugin, which is kind of weird. So yeah. And there's a bunch of stuff here. So on-call, celery, and I think this would also be a good opportunity to make things optional, because this, I'm guessing just by the numbers of containers, and I know this is a Python app. I forget if it's Django or not. It's like running celery workers. It has a Redis integration. Like, it's doing a lot of stuff. So that could cause resource constraints, and you could be like a one-man band IT where you don't really care and it's just bloat and it requires a bigger VM and stuff like that. I've noticed this too, where some people, a client of mine doesn't want uptime Kuma because they have a more scalable a black box observability solution. So if your org uses something like Uptime Robot, you don't really need Uptime Kuma, and those bigger services will have things that like Uptime Kuma doesn't. Like multiple runners managed from one panel seems to be the biggest thing, where you can probe the same thing for multiple regions. Uptime Kuma doesn't have that sort of like multi-probe solution. Or you might have some mega brand organization that jerry rigs all their black box checks with like Prometheus black box exporter or something like that. So I think I'm going to make this optional, because one, I think that's a good feature, because there could be things that people don't want. Yeah. So let's copy this guy into VS Code. And this is the developer version, which is probably what we want for Shift Mon. Because what Grafana calls developer actually scales up pretty well. So there's RabbitMQ, and then there's like the Docker Compose version. I'm guessing this one uses like Postgres. No, it doesn't. Huh. On-call celery exporter. I also want to get rid of some of these pin dependencies too. I hate that. I prefer the outages caused by things being slightly too updated rather than the CVEs you get from things being statically pinned and you have to babysit them more. I'm also extremely lazy. So I think this deployment looks easy. And I think it just includes, okay, so it does have Grafana. We'll have to edit our Grafana ini too, but that shouldn't be too big of a deal. So let's copy this into VS Code. Watch, it passes like the Docker socket or something stupid I'm missing right now. Alright. So let's figure out what we need. Wait. Yeah, so this is running Django. This could be a chonker. Default, critical, okay. So all of this should be fine. Services, engine, on-call. Yeah, all of this makes sense so far. So celery. Oh, that's interesting. So these actually use the same image, but one of them's calling the Whiskey server to spin up Django. and then the other one is spinning up OnCall, but with the Celery exporters. So Celery is a message, or I don't think message queue is the right word. It's a worker queue for it's a worker queue written in Python for managing tasks. So if you need to like have long running jobs in a web app, it's really stupid to have to like keep a HTTP connection open for like 5 minutes to run a report. There's durability issues with that where like the connection could break, so then the report output doesn't go back to the client. There's issues where you're making yourself vulnerable to slow Loris attacks, and it could increase the load on the application because just jank connections from potato phones could be bogging down your server and exhausting like the number of connections your web server can handle. I know it's particularly bad with Apache. So you would use something like Celery to basically make a request saying, hey, I need this report done. And then it'll be like, okay, I've queued this. Once this job is complete, I will notify the client. And that workflow, again, lets you keep fewer TCP connections open on your app. This is interesting. I've never seen this in a Docker container where they spin up a separate container just for that, but it's interesting. Redis is a key value store, and it can persist data, but it's designed for living in memory. So it's good for handling session data, and it can help with things like high availability. So there might be stuff you need to access super fast, but you can't persist it to disk because that would make it really slow. So you'd use something like Redis or a Redis cluster in a remote machine to get everything figured out. Oh wow, it's tiny. Health check. Oh, it's nice that it has a health check. This one we're gonna have to modify. So this is where we're gonna start like redacting stuff. So I'm leaving these two in because they need to go away because we have a Grafana ini, but we need to configure them in the Grafana ini to get them to work. Yeah, so there's an on-call data container. There's a Redis container because Redis can persist data, which could help with cold start problems, I believe. So yeah. So again, any questions, pop them in the stream or in the chat box. And also remember to like and subscribe. All right. So base URL, secret key. I'll just make this a burner secret. All right. So we are going to split this out to the right. Close this nonsense. Close this nonsense. This doesn't matter. That doesn't matter right now. That will matter, but we can open it later. Docker dashboard doesn't matter. Prefix doesn't necessarily matter either. Also, okay, so it does export port 8080. So I don't know if we need a Treefik app for it, but that's future Matthias's problem to figure out. So, going to go to, crap. Style dashboards. We need to go to our Podman Compose, which is a template, and Podman. Okay. So now we want to split this to the right. And we need to start control Xing stuff out. So this we can paste out. I'm doing control X because I can always just get this data back other places. I can always get this data back other places, and it helps me keep track of what I need to do and focus on what I need to do to be successful. So engine, Celery, DB migration, and Redis can basically all just get copy pasted out. I want to control X these just again so I can keep track of everything. So services engine, yeah, so from here out, boom, yay. So the volumes is where I want to be careful. So the Grafana data we don't care about. We need to figure out where on-call data, on-call under data. So we're gonna do opt Shift Mon on-call and do a bind mount. So I should do the bind mounts consistently with how I have been doing it, just for sanity reasons, but we'll leave that there for now. And the reason why I'm not using volumes, it's just because I made that decision earlier. It also helps keep everything like logically in one place. So let's go find our Redis data and opt Shift Mon, write this. Boom. Okay. So now on-call is probably going to need a role 2 just to copy paste the data. Or I could make it a part of the Grafana role. Yeah, that makes way more sense. So, actually, what would be the smart thing to do? Go to here. On call. And then we're just gonna make it like that. And do opt Shift Mon Redis. Then make sure that's actually the right. Opt Shift Mon on call. Perfect. So then, just so that when on call is defined and on call, I believe that's how you do that trick. Is defined. Do I do that in this repo? Yes, I do. Oh, and on call. So I believe you can do it where you just do and on call and it works like it does in Python, where if it's true, it'll work, and if false is failed. So on call has to be defined in the inventory, and that will run. And we could also do that in the template here, like so. Okay, so what do we have left to deal with? Allowing unsigned plugins and installing the OnCall app. So I don't think you can do the environment variables. I believe you cannot do environment variables and having an ini at the same time, otherwise it gets angry. And we want to prefer the ini because there's so many things that we do have options for, like LDAP and what is that? LDAP, you could use single sign-on with via other mechanisms, that it makes sense just to do it through a file rather than have all these environment variables. It's the same reason we don't have traffic labels. Also, traffic labels require having the socket, which allows things to be dynamically added in and out, but then the reverse proxy has access to the Docker socket, which can be easily exploited to gain root access if you're running Docker. Not as huge of a deal if you're running Podman. But I think we're running Podman as root, so should probably make a ticket for that at some point. Maybe not, because running, the way this is designed to be deployed is you feed it, or you deploy it to a clean VM where you just run Shift Mon on it. So getting root on it isn't as big of a deal, because if you get access to the application, yeah. Something I'll look into, but it might not be a super big deal due to how the deployment works. I don't know. I'll think about it off stream. Alright, so where the heck is the Grafana ini? Boom. So there's our Grafana ini. Unsigned plugin admin. Enable or disable. So I thought there was a way. Enable alpha. Oh, so this is allowed unsigned plugins. So the GF install plugins, I'm not sure how to do through the ini file. So I'm gonna search it for the environment variable, then hopefully they show alternative instructions with installing the plugin. Okay. Install official. Tells Grafana. Okay, no, if you need to specify a version of the plugin, add it to the. Oh, that's clever. Then a zip file. Neat. You can build your own customized image to include plugin. This saves time if you're creating multiple images and want them all to have the same build. I could do that, but that's a giant pain in the butt. So is there a way to do installed plugins through the ini file? Or do I just have to edit the command maybe? I wonder. That's just gonna link me straight to there. Okay. I guess we could try it with the environment variable and see what happens, but I think it's gonna get angry with me. So let's go back to Codium. That I should probably work on at some point. That'd be another fun thing to do, is set up HA, but that's an endeavor. And admin external manage. Yeah. So maybe if I search for plugins in the documentation, that might help. Publish a plugin, build a plugin, legacy plugins. Pre-install Grafana plugin. Maybe that'll pop something up. Way to install plugins offline. Okay. GF. Okay. So the other option would be is we modify the command string too, if it does get angry, because like I said, I think it does get angry if you do that. So we'll try it the way where there's an environment variable, but I'm guessing it's gonna get pissed that we're trying to have our cake and eat it too. So we'll get rid of this because we have this dealt with another way. And we'll copy this because I don't care. And spell Grafana right, maybe? Crap. I hate when that happens in VS Code. So yeah, option 2, and there's technical burdens if this doesn't work. So hopefully it works. Hey, there we go. Okay, so now everything should start working after this. And then, assuming it works, we'll make this section a giant if statement at the beginning, where basically it's if Grafana or if OnCall equals true. I need to edit the inventory, and then shift rmm. What? Shift inventory YAML. The reason I need to edit the inventory off screen is I am not sure if it has secrets in its. Okay, yeah, this does have secrets in it. So let's go here. OnCall is true. Copy dashboards is bad now. Why is this bad now? Oh, yeah, I'd be mad about that too. The amount of times, part of me wants to do the lazy security thing where you bind a commonly used password to a macro key. That is a terrible idea. Oh, come on. Let's see how badly this messes up. Yeah, I am under no impression that this is going to work, by the way. Loki config, all that good stuff. But made the on-call directories. And then let's preemptively get sudo podman ps tech. I'm going to preemptively grab the name for the Grafana container, because I'm guessing that's the one that's going to blow up. Then I think something else that'd be fun to showcase just for fun would be the, there's actually a Podman integration that is a plugin you can install to Cockpit. I forget if it's in the Ubuntu repos. It's in all the Enterprise Linux distros, so. Cancel. Oh, this is Zeke, that's why it didn't prompt me. Let's do that one. Boop. Podman containers, and it's still the wrong, I keep logging into the wrong host. It's not locally installed. It is on Armin. What? That's not good. Did I just rerun? No, I reran Shift RMM. I'm in the Shift RMM repo. Add Grafana config, configure treefic. Treefic log, add log rotate. Acquiesce. Generate compose file. So that did change. But the scary thing is we're not seeing any of like the on-call containers in here, so, and we're not seeing it there either. So sudo nvim opt shift mon docker compose services engine. What the heck? Is Grafana online still? That's not good. This is the default. Oh, I'm missing certificates on this deployment. Guessing that's bad. So this is strange. Engine. And it looks like everything generated correctly. I need to do something quick. Always with the tokens on stream. API tokens. I really wish Cloudflare like told you more information about your tokens, like when they were created and used, like most other platforms do. So let's roll this secret. Cool. Okay, so that's done. So sudo systemctl restart podman systemctl restart. So now what's really cool is it actually live tracks the socket. So you should see all of these go away. Yep, and then you should see a bunch of new containers spawn. You should see a bunch of new containers. I know what's happening. I know exactly what's happening. I am not specifying an image and the user prompt is timing out. So Docker thinks there's only one registry and it's Docker IO. Podman will actually, or I shouldn't say there's only one registry because they have like Docker login and stuff. But Docker by default pulls from docker.io as the default registry for all the images. So if you don't specify a domain, it will just assume that it's docker.io. So there's some autocomplete going on here where that would work on Docker but not Podman. So I need to replace occurrences of this with docker.io / this. Then make sure I'm not being overzealous. Global find replaces scary. Fun fact. So we need to go to Redis. Then do latest. And then do a docker.io. So now I should be able to redeploy and everything goes swimmingly. I think that's everything. Docker.io, Grafana OSS. So the smart way to do this would be to go through image. Dang, there's 11 containers now. So there's a docker.io there. Docker.io, docker.io, docker.io. Yeah. Yay. That looks like everything's bueno. Everything should be Gucci now. Also, thanks for liking the stream, subscribing. There's also links to the Matrix chat. I float ideas for Shift Mon in there, so if you want to input on the product, that's a good place to go. Also, check out our GitLab. And if you need observability consulting, definitely hit me up. So if you want some of the cool stuff we have for pfSense and OpenSense on your firewall, need help with your alerting or any of your Grafana or automation shenanigans, let me know. Uh-oh. Oh, it's restarting, isn't it? Yeah, crap. I was gonna show the reverse DNS lookups, but the application has to be alive for that, and I think I have to be logged in too. So now, when it restarts, we should see some containers in a pissed off Grafana. Or maybe that environment variable it's not too angry about. We'll see in a second. Yeah. So now we're seeing Redis come up. We're seeing Grafana come up. Shit. Oh, health check. Okay. Are those Grafana images? Okay, yeah. I might have. Yep. So that's what's going on. It had to pull all the chonky. I'm guessing I shouldn't say chonky. It had to pull the image fresh. So now everything should be happy. Yep. So now if we go to here, I'll fix the SSL error off stream. We should at least be able to access data. Explore. Or we could at least refresh the Explore tab here. So we have a dest IP, which the downside of doing, I'm going to squirrel for a second, sorry. We'll figure out why OnCall isn't showing up. We should see Grafana OnCall here, but it is not there, which is not good. And I don't think I want to install it manually, because then if you install it through the plugin, they could get pissy with each other. The other thing is too is like it might not be that big of a deal to ask the user to install a plugin manually, especially because you can just go and install it, I'm pretty sure, without much fuss. The other thing, again, is I could try the shell command. So, I forget if Docker has like a pre-command or like a pre-up command where before the application's live, it'll try to install the plugin. That would be the other option. So yeah. So now we see that when we do query a source, we see the source IP and the source host. So this could save you time when you're troubleshooting a networking issue, that if this was a reject or you're getting a bunch of traffic from somewhere you're not sure where it's at, this you have to kind of keep the DNS state in your brain. This, it actually shows you that it's Armin is reaching out to that IP address. So that's really cool. Hopefully it could save some time. I know geo lookup is super cool, but it could be a giant pain in the butt to set up. So that's why that is the thing. So now let's figure out why Grafana is angry with us. So we could do that in a variety of ways. Shift Mon Grafana, logs. Okay, so this is the start. Oh, yay. Please restart Grafana, refer to Grafana documentation if necessary. So we might have to restart the container? So OnCall should show up here. Plugins. Okay, so, oh, it is installed. We just have to enable it. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Configure plugin? OnCall backend URL. Okay. So this isn't going to be. This is going to be the OnCall host name, which is going to be the, and I'll have to document this, which isn't a huge deal. It is going to be engine 8080. I might change that because I think that's dumb. But that's also what the vendor told us to do, so engine 8080 connect. What? Or did it get a special name? So the image, yeah, so the service is called Grafana. Yep, so the service is called Grafana just like it is in here. The domain, I think these need to get configured in order for it to be happy. So I wonder, we should see an engine container in here. Maybe that's the, okay. So there's the engine container. Let's see what logs we have. Sponge, no Python application found. Oh. Shit. So now let's try here. So it is hitting the WSGI app. That's not good. Okay. Getting any install from WSGI.NA registered format, starting WSGI. Python thread support is disabled. Python main, your server socket. So it's angry about unable to open database file. Yo. So it's angry about not being able to open the database. So integration, it should show the volume. And I believe SE Linux is disabled. Yeah, so SE Linux is permissive. So it's probably angry about base URL and the secret key. Okay. Details, integration logs. Okay. I am hard coding this for now because I am lazy. I am just putting in random garbage here. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for resetting this in the future. I'm also going to get rid of the semicolon. Definitely be careful about what special application or special characters you use when you're setting up an application for the first time. I think it might be smarter to edit these manually. Okay. Copy. LS, LA. So it can touch the OnCall DB, which is fine. Has read-write permission. Okay. So that's fine. So what happens if we IT trick this container? Also, I cannot say enough cool things about Podman. Okay, so everything looks like it's happy in the WSGI app now. So now if we hit connect, we get an unexpected error. $500, remove current connection. Overview, version history. installed version, source get. When trying to install the plugin, if you're sure of current configuration, or does the base URL need to change to this? I'm not sure what the base URL variable actually is. So Grafana OnCall base URL. Maybe it would be in the developer friendly incident production developer quick start. Okay, so base underscore. That's not good. Possible values are. Oh, that's neat that they have all that cool stuff. So yeah, no such file or directory. Okay, so this is actually for like developing the thing. I figured this would just be for like the developer compose. On call. Oh crap. Developer quick start. There it is. Okay, production. Go to the on call. Okay, so one, set variables. Echo. Okay, so domain is going to be this guy right here. That must not be. Okay. Cool. Then do a couple there. So now theoretically, this should do the trick. This playbook doesn't take that long to run, which is really cool. I need to be careful though about how many times I start and stop it though. Grafana does have, or no, not Grafana. Docker Hub has rate limits, so. And obviously I'll like rekey that secret and all that other good stuff. So that's what was up, was those two things were there. This is going to be hard coded. I actually don't like that though. We'll see if this works, otherwise it'll end up being engine 8080. I think it should be engine 8080. Because yeah, that's exposing a port. That's stupid. So if this does work, I'm going to end up doing, this is what I want to do. Because it shouldn't have to expose the port if all on-call is doing is communicating with Grafana. Grafana, restart, unload, stopped, yeah, all that stuff. Are there any other ports besides? Good. So they didn't expose Redis, which is nice. I also need to wrap up here pretty soon. So we'll try this in Engine, and then I'll end the stream no matter what. And obviously afterward, I'm gonna redo that secret. Okay, so after this one goes, and then we can watch all the containers get destroyed in real time, because that's just, I think that's really cool how responsive this is, where it nukes all the containers, puts everything back with all your volumes mapped to. Containers are cool, kids. And the reason there's a system D service managing this instead of just using Docker or Podman Compose to do it is the restart thing doesn't work correctly. Podman Compose isn't quite one-to-one. There's a few things I could do to deal with this. Is one, go full tryhard and do like the Kubernetes YAML inside Podman, and the other nice thing with that is like I can do a simple scalable deployment, and that YAML might work in Kubernetes too. Because I think it would be nice to have a option to use Podman if you're like a baby-sized deployment, or full-blown Kubernetes if you need that in your life. I know I need to learn Kubernetes at some point, but I have no use case for it. Because at home, like, I only have one server that's a compute node, and running Kubernetes is a massive level of complexity for like no good reason. Okay. So we'll try it with this. Remove current configuration, remove. Localhost 8080. Connect. Yep, plugin set, API key deleted. So now if I go to OnCall, retry, crap. And then it's accessible on your Grafana instance. Also, I think 8080's going to be resource contention. I had a ton of issues with that with CrowdSec, so it makes sense to just use the container URL in my opinion. So we'll deploy that and see if the plugin will at least configure itself. So that should be engine 8080. That secret we'll deal with later. And if it's rekeyable, it might just make sense to regenerate it every time, but I know there might be issues. There might be issues with that. So I was chatting about my friend. Something really cool that happened in my personal life was a doggy door, and a dog run on the side of my house. So the reason why it's cool is that our dogs like to roam around the backyard without collars on, but the problem is they like to roam around more than just the backyard without their collars on. So we had a little doggy tether. They get tangled, they get their leash caught on stuff, and we wanted to put a fence up. However, fences were gonna be in like the 10K ballpark for a backyard. Or if we DIY'd it, we do a bad job, and we have Shiba Inus, which are notorious escape artists, so it doesn't make sense for unskilled people to build a very big and expensive fence. It would also ruin the backyard. So we put a little dog run on the side of our house, and we redid our side door so now it has a doggy door on it. And now, assuming weather and everything's correct, we can just like open the main door and then they just run in and out of the storm door. They can poop without bothering us. They can go lay in the sun. They could just go run around outside and touch grass whenever they're darn near whenever they want. So that's really nice. Yes, the fire foxes. Or the house foxes. Our we have a sesame Shiba Inu and a black and tan. And the sesame one, her name's Miku, and she looks like a little croissant or the Firefox logo when she's curled up in a sleep. It is the cutest thing ever. I do want to set up a fuzzy cam at some point, but there is a little bit of contention in our house around certain things. Crap. So the dogs, they like going up. I shouldn't say they like going upstairs. When we moved here, they thought it was okay to poop in the attic / office where I stream. So they're a little shy to come up here right now because most of the time when they come up here, we're yelling at them not to poop up here. So we're trying to work through that with them. Sometimes Miku and Max will cuddle up in their little poof we have up here, and I kind of want to point a webcam at it. Configure plugin. Move current configuration. So now it should be engine 8080. There we go. An unknown error when trying to call 8080. Refresh your page or try removing plugin configuration and reconfiguring. So now we should be able to go to the engine container, check out the logs. No name machine clock source. Page size, bound to it, Python thread supports disabled. Oh, so it can't connect to the database, which is weird. Unable to open database file. I have an idea. I'm going to stop it. Swear to God, this is the last thing. I have such a bad problem with that. Sudo rm opt shift mon oncall.db. Now we shall start the container. So now I think because I rekeyed it, the database got pissy. I have no idea how the connect. Okay. I have no idea how the secret key stuff works with Python web apps. But yeah. It's correct. Try refreshing your page. Retry. And we'll figure out, yeah, I'm gonna have to figure this out off stream. Remember, like, share, all that good stuff. Have a good day, everybody. It was nice streaming. So, end stream.